Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Sister Sabia, thank you so much for that introductory session. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. So let me use this opportunity to say thank you so much to everyone that has joined us today. Thank you for making this a success. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has made this possible for us. We pray that He gives us this day and He makes this more successful than we have envisaged it. So I would like to quickly go with an opening session. Let me just say an opening speech because Sister Sabia already helped us with, an introductory session. Rabbi Shirali Sadri wa Yasirili Amri wa Ali Luktatan min Lisani Yafkolu Koli. Now, praise be to Allah who has made this possible. This is something we've been looking forward to for over some months now. And I am so glad, I am happy that we're finally doing this. Alhamdulillah. So please, if you have people that have registered for this but that are not here yet, try as much as possible to invite them. Let them also come and benefit from this. It's better when it's, a live session like this than when they come back to, listen to it. Yes, that I can assure you. Right. So for my opening speech, I'll just quickly go through what brought about TNPC, the Muslim Parenting Conference, and why we're having this first one at this time, alhamdulillah. So like I said, that somebody actually asked me some times back while we were preparing for TNPC that what is it about TNPC? Why are you having this? Why are you holding this? Then I said that number one is that I have seen and I've heard a lot of people, both mostly Muslims, because those are the people that I am used to, say something like, what's positive parenting? There's nothing like positive parenting like that it does not have to do with spoiling your children. That does not have to do with spoiling your child, right? And people say something like, positive parenting kini, say to man bomojen nile soro somo nile nomo nile shekini kon. And I have heard lots and lots of comment like this. And I would like to also say that I didn't start, it was not something that I started just immediately I started having my children. But I would say that it's something that I really took my time to, learn about, alhamdulillah. So I would, one misconception that I would like to correct first of all is that we need to know something that we need to know. Okay, yes, a particular word that people use is that what's positive parenting? That they will spoil children and all of that. They say several things like that. And I would like to say that positive parenting is not something that is for Weibo, like we would wrongly say most of the time. Positive parenting is something, it is from the way of the Rasul, peace be upon him, right? And that is the first thing I would like to correct, first of all. Positive parenting, raising our children positively, is the way of the Rasul, peace be upon him. And there are several hadiths of him that we've heard of. We've heard that the one that came from about Anas bin Malik, from Anas bin Malik. We've heard about the one that came from Anas too, about Hassan and Hussein, and lots more like that. So that's the first misconception that I want TMPC to do what? To correct. That positive parenting is the way of the Rasul, peace be upon him. And we should also imbibe, because if we have said that he is our role model, then we should try as much as possible to follow him till latter. We should not follow him in some aspects of our lives, and we should, leave other aspects of our life out of it. It is very important for us to follow him with every aspect of our lives, right? So another very good example that we can give when it comes to, raising our children in a way that's not in a way that we were not raised, because there's a saying from Ali ibn Abu Talib that says that we should, we should try as much as possible not to raise our children the way we were raised, because we were born at a different time from when they were born, right? So this is something that has made me say that, okay, yes, let us go all out and let Muslims know that Positive parenting is not something that we come to the conclusion and say it's something of the West. You know, we should know that it is something that the prophet, peace be upon him, also practiced, and we should try as much as possible to emulate him in this regard also. Now, so thank you so much, like I have, said before, for doing this with me. It's not something I can do alone. I want to seize this opportunity to say thank you to even, yes, the team that have been behind this ever since, we have been planning it. Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah make this beneficial for everyone, for me, for the team, and for everybody that is going to be listening to this, bi'idhnillah. Right? So we'll go straight into today's topic, reparenting yourself before parenting your kids. What does this even mean, and why are we even starting this, TMPC with this particular topic, right? The main reason why we're starting this topic, this conference with this topic, is because of the fact that parenting is majorly about the parents. Right, it is majorly about the parents, because if you look at that saying that I quoted from the beginning of this session, that reparenting yourself before I said that Ali ibn Talib said that we should not raise our children the way we were raised, because they were born at a different time from where we were born, which means that we need to position ourselves in a way that we will be able to raise our children for their own time, right? We need to reparent ourselves, because of course, if it has been said that we should not raise our children the way we were raised, which means that there are certain things that we need to, sit down, look at it, that okay, what are those things? If you are being asked not to do something the way those that did it back then did it, it means that you want to sit down and look at it like, okay, what exactly is that thing that those people did that we're not supposed to do? What are those things that they didn't do that we are now supposed to do? So reparenting ourselves means that we are repositioning ourselves into the parents that our children these days need, right? Not because, of course, what comes to us naturally is that we just want to use the template that our own parents used, right? And of course, it has been said that we should not use it. So which means that, yes, the values are still going to remain. Of course, the principles are still going to remain. They are still going to be from the Quran and Sunnah. However, the strategies has to change, which is the main reason why we need to actually reparent ourselves before we parent our children. So still going on why we need to reparent ourselves on this journey of raising our children. Reparenting oneself before parenting children is essential because the way we parent is deeply influenced by our upbringing. Like I said before, the way you are going to be raising your children right now is going to be deeply rooted and influenced from how you were raised, right? It's going to be from how you were raised, right? We're coming with different things. We're coming with unresolved emotional wounds. We're coming with, unconscious pattern. We're coming with several things that if we sit down and think about it, a lot of I have met a lot of parents say something like, there are certain things that I don't want to do, but I find myself doing it, which means that you don't want to do it. You detest it so much, even as a child. You detest it so much, even as a child. But you'll find out that you start doing the same thing. Why will you continue to do the same thing? That is to tell you that how you were raised is something that is going to, it is already into you. It is programming. It has been programmed into you, right? So which means that you need to unlearn all those unhealthy habits for you to be able to raise your children the way you should raise them, right? By parenting ourselves, we are able to reflect on our own upbringing, right? Which will help us to become better equipped to raise emotionally healthy, balanced, and resilient children. So there's an Arabic saying that says that Kaifa yakun murabi yakun muraba. And this simply translates to mean that you need to understand that a child is shaped by the people who raised him. A child is shaped by the people who raised him, the methods they used in raising that child, the environment that child grew up in, and the knowledge that those that raised him have. I'm going to take that again for those of us that are, putting down something. I know that there's no slide and we might want to write out something, some very important points. So I'm going to take it again, that a child is shaped by the people who raised them, right? a child is shaped by the people who raise them, the method that is being used in bringing them up, the environment in which they grew up, and the knowledge that those who raised them actually have, right? So the question now is that you are raising your children. That's one of the reasons why we're going into reparenting. Have you sat down and said that, do I have what it takes to raise this child the way I am supposed to raise this child? Because of course, we are going to be asked about them on the day of Kiyama. They are trust on us. Some people will even say they are not ours. They have just been given to us as an amana, as a trust that we should raise them. So oftentimes, what I like to say is that it is all about us as parents. It is not about the children. It is all about us as parents, right? So it is what we know while we are, raising our children, the environment which we put our children, the methods in which we use in raising our children, that is actually going to shape our children's life. There's an Arab scholar that is named Ibn Khaldun that said that, he was asked a question. He was asked that, how should we educate our children? Right? How should we educate our children? And the response that Ibn Khaldun gave is that, do not try to educate your children. Right? He's an Arab scholar. You can go and check about him. He said, do not try to educate your children because they will become like you anyway. Just educate yourself. Can you see how big that is? It says you should not educate your children. Don't educate them. Educate yourself. Because if you educate yourself, whatever it is that you mirror to them is what your children are going to see and what they are going to pick up, right? So educate yourself. Don't try educating your children. Educate yourself, which means it is what we already know that, role modeling is something that is very, very important in child upbringing. We need to try as much as possible to do what? To, what's the word? To model whatever it is that we want to see in our children, right? A child is shaped by the people who raise them. So he said that don't try to educate your children. Educate yourself because they will look like you anyway. It is you exactly that they are going to be like, right? So you want to educate yourself. You want to, leave your children out of this. Educate yourself because they are going to be looking at you. And that's why it is said that parents are the greatest influencers when it comes to their children. When it comes to their children, you have that power. You do not know how that big that power is for you to influence your children. So you need to reparent yourself. Let's move. Right. So I decided to acronym all of the things that we're going to be talking about under reparenting yourself under the 6 R's. We have 6 R's of reparenting yourself. So if we're saying reparent yourself, what do we mean by this? What are the steps that we need to put in place for us to be able to, reparent ourselves? I'm surprised that I cannot see comments. I wish that I can actually see. It makes me feel like nobody is hearing me. Nobody can hear me as I speak. I can just see that people are watching me. Okay, it's fine. We'll go on. So what are the 6 R's of reparenting ourselves? The first one that I put here is reflection. Reflection. What does reflection mean? Reflection is just you sitting down and accepting the truth that is with you, reflecting, right? Thinking about those things that were done to you or that were never done to you. Because when we talk about trauma is not just the things that were done to you. Trauma is also those things that are supposed to be done, that were supposed to be done to you while you were growing up, but was never done to you. It is something that is going to affect you growing up, right? So you want to sit down, you want to think about it, you want to see the shaft from the grain. What reflection helps you to do is that it helps you to focus on self-awareness. You become aware of yourself, right? You become aware of yourself. You know yourself better. You understand yourself. You understand your childhood experiences. You understand those ones that are negative experiences for you. You understand those ones that are positive experiences for you. You understand what baggage you're holding. You understand that, okay, yes, this is the baggage. You want to open it up. You want to take those ones that are positive along with you, and you want to return, you want to, let go of those ones that are negative, right? What reflection does is that it helps you to understand how your past affects your present. Because of course, we already said it, that how you were raised, everything that you experienced back then, there's no how, it's still going to affect you, and it's still going to be a part of how you are going to raise your own children. So you want to sit down, you want to understand how your past affects your present. You want to look at your parenting style. How are you raising your children? What approach are you using? Are you just winging it? What structures are you putting in place? You want to reflect. This is going to further help you to sieve the chaff from the grain, like I have said. So you want to take on those ones that you know that, yes, while I was growing up, reflection is something that we find very difficult to do in, everyone. And that's why if you look at the Quran, there are so many parts of the Quran that talks about reflection. Reflection. Don't they think? Don't they reflect? A very good example is in Surah to Yusuf. Quran 12 verse 411. It says that there was certainly in their stories a lesson for those of understanding. Never was the Quran a narration invented, but a confirmation of what was before it, and a detailed explanation of all things and guidance and mercy for a people who believe. So it says, for a people of understanding, for those that actually reflect, for those that actually sit down and think. And like I have said before, we find it very difficult to reflect because it is not easy. It is not easy sitting down to say that, okay, yes, I want to think about all of those things that have happened to me in the past. I want to be able to, look at it critically, analyze it, and run with those things that are positive there. It is something that we find very difficult to do. And it's something that we need to cultivate on our journey of raising children if we do not want to damage our children. It's something we need to sit down and think about. So reflection is the first R that we need to do if we actually want to reparent ourselves, right? What are other things that reflection helps you to do? It helps you to understand your unresolved childhood trauma. Like somebody will say that almost everybody in this day and age are traumatized. Yes, we all are traumatized. It takes intentionality for you to say that you do not want to pass on your trauma to the people that are coming behind you, right? It helps you to identify, to see your emotional wound that is leading to that psychological injury for you, right? It helps you to understand the negative patterns or triggers. There are certain things that we'll just do, we'll just do it without thinking or without being conscious. It is after we finish doing that thing and after some moments that we'll now start thinking about it, like, this is, something that that is even for those people that are still thinking about it a bit. Like you now start thinking like, this thing is not something that should have, that should have made me shouted or that should have made me, done some things, right? So we want to sit down, we want to think about it. You will notice that some things that triggers us so much, we will find out that it is because of our unresolved trauma. Maybe because we have gone through that thing in the past that is negative and it is still affecting us. It doesn't necessarily mean that our children are going to do that thing. But because of the fact that we have an unresolved trauma about it, we think that whatever it is that happened to us back then is going to repeat itself. And, it brings that trigger. So we want to sit down, we want to reflect, right? Another thing that reflection helps you to do is that you get to understand your values. What are those things that you want? What are those things that are your value system? What are those things that are your principle? And you want to hold on to it. A lot of time, parents of these days, what we do is that we set rules. And one thing about rules is that rules are made to be broken. Rules are going to be broken. If you're always the one that, the only thing that you do for your children is you give rules, you correct, you criticize, you judge, and all of those things, there's no how. There's going to be a glitch between you and your children, right? So you want to try as much as possible to sit down and reflect such that you'll be able to know, instead of setting rules, what you need are principles and values. You need to lay down principles and values. Put them down. Communicate it with your children. What are you set parenting goals? What do you want to achieve? It comes from you reflecting. Okay, what is that thing that I don't want to repeat itself with me? You need to reflect, right? So let's now talk about the practical ways that you actually need to do this, right? The first thing you need to do is that you need to set apart a particular time for reflection. Set apart a particular time for reflection. For me, it works for me best in the morning, very early in the morning. And when the prophet said that the morning is blessed, it is actually blessed. So you might also want to, sit down and think about it. Do it with, with your writing materials, right? Try as much as possible to use a calm and tranquil environment. Using a calm and tranquil environment is something that is going to help you. And that's why I said mornings work for me, because morning are, they are perfect. And especially for, yes, we are parents. Our children might still be sleeping at this time. Everything is cool and calm. Everything is tranquil. So we want to use this period. Another thing is that you want to journal your reflection. Just try it. You want to journal your reflection. You want to write down whatever it is that is coming through your mind when it comes to the way that you yourself are growing. And that's why I said that there's no intentional parenting without personal development. There's no intentional parenting. You have to develop yourself first before you can say that you want to intentionally or positively raise your own children. So you want to journal your reflections. Write it down. Put it down. It gives you more clarity of whatever it is that wherever it is that you are going to. Then the last one is that you want to seek knowledge. You want to seek knowledge and act on your reflection. After your reflection, you will definitely be able to say that, okay, yes, these are the things that I don't want to continue to do. These are the things that I want to stop doing. These are the things that I want to continue to do, like that. Then what you now want to do is, okay, yes, I know that I have anger issues. Any little thing triggers me. And one thing about it is that if you're not a calm person, if you're not calm, it's different from you to be calm. You can be a calm person, but you might not be calm when it comes to your children, when it comes to the way you relate with them, right? So you might be a calm person and you will not be calm when it comes to your children. And that is where you will know that something is wrong. I am naturally not somebody who is always triggered. So you want to know, what are those things that triggers me? What is it? What help do I need with this? Is it that I need to enroll for a course? Is it that I need to seek help? Is it that I need to, to read books? It's something that you can actually do. However, it is best for you when you are able to do it with some people that have the same goal, that have the same mindset as you, right? So you want to seek knowledge for whatever it is that you have journaled that you know that you need help with. And that is it about reflection, which is the first R when it comes to reparenting yourself before parenting your children. The second R, which I'm going to be talking about, is reconnection. Reconnection. It involves you connecting again with yourself. Again. You're doing it again. You're connecting with yourself again. You're connecting with your inner self. It still stems down from that reflection, because if you're unable to reflect, you will not be able to connect with that inner self, with your inner self. You will not be able to come to the realization that, okay, yes, this is me, this is who I am, this is something that is wrong, this is something that I need to work on, and like that. So you want to reconnect with yourself. You want to know what your unmet emotional needs are, because a lot of time what children need, and that's why I say sometimes back in my post I said that what you think that your children need, food, clothing, shelter, is not the only thing that your children need. But a lot of time we feel that that is what they need. They need emotional connection. If you are raising a child that they are not emotionally connected with in this 21st century, you will lose that child. So you want to reconnect with yourself first. Try as much as possible to deal with that unmet emotional need of yours, because if you have an unmet emotional need, you will not be able to meet the emotional needs of your children. And it is when you reflect that you'll be able to know that there is this emotional need that I need, that I have missed, right? You need to know that traumatic experiences are often, a lot of time, not only that emotional pain that is inflicted on us, it is also that emotional need that was supposed to be met but was not met. A lot of time, we still have parents that find it very difficult to even hug their children because they were never hugged as a child. They were never hugged as a child. Think about it. We have some parents that they find it very difficult to tell their child to affirm their children because we were never affirmed as children. What we heard mostly was criticism. What we heard mostly was judgment. That's what we heard mostly. What we heard mostly was, if you don't do this, what we heard mostly was correction. We were just being corrected without being taught, right? So when we're saying traumatic experiences, it is not just about the things that were done to us that damaged us. Also the things that were never done to us that were supposed to have been done to us. Right? The things that were done, because, and that's why I love to co-parent, we are actually nurturers. If you want to nurture something, there's no how. You cannot nurture something with violence. You cannot, it's no longer nurturing. It is no longer nurturing because you cannot nurture with violence. You can only nurture when you are calm, when there's, when there's that sakina in you, that tranquility in you. That is when you can nurture. Right? So the key things necessary for you to be able to reconnect is that you need to heal from your past trauma. And before you can heal from your past trauma, you need to accept that you are traumatized. A lot of us live in denial of being traumatized. We live in denial saying there's nothing wrong with me. However, we know that there's something wrong with us. And one very beautiful thing about this thing, yes, I'll say it's beautiful, is that you can't do it. Somebody else can't do it for you, except you do it by yourself. Except you come to that realization, you accept the fact that you are traumatized and you need to heal from that trauma. But if you are living in denial, then it is not something that is going to be possible for you to heal because you have not even accepted the fact that you are traumatized. And the first step to healing is actually, accepting it. Yes, it happened. You are here to save me. You've been here with me, but now you can let go of me. I'm going to be fine. And you actually walk towards it, right? Healing from your past trauma, right? The next thing that is necessary for you to do, for you to be able to reconnect with your inner self, is that you need to build emotional resilience. You need to build emotional resilience by understanding our feelings and that of others. A lot of time, we do it to the extent that we do not even accept our children's feelings because we do not even accept our own feelings. So we don't even understand those feelings. And that's what happens to our children a lot of time. When a child tells you, for instance, that I am feeling cold, and you feel that you are very hot, the next thing you want to say as the parent is, you are hot, you are cold. Not accepting our children's feelings. We need to know that all feelings are acceptable. It might not all behaviors are acceptable, but all feelings are acceptable. So we want to accept our children's feelings no matter what, because if we do not do that, if we do not even accept our own feeling, if we do not try to reconnect with ourselves, try to understand our feeling, knowing when we're overwhelmed about something, knowing when we're angry, knowing when we're sad, knowing when we have different of those emotions. If we do not understand our own and accept our own, we will never be able to accept our children's own. So we need to reconnect to our emotions. We need to have that emotional resilience. Right? Another thing is that you need to also connect, apart from, connecting with yourself, you need to connect with your child. Connecting with your child playfully. We see lots of people that will still come and say that, because there are certain things that we need to understand that we do not understand, yes, as parents. We're just raising these kids because we do not understand that there are different milestones that they are going to reach, and some things that they are going to be doing is very normal. There are certain ages that our children will get to, and we already know that they will throw tantrums. We need to come to the realization that it is normal for this child to throw this tantrum at this age. There will be a particular milestone that our children will get to, that they will lie. But if we do not know that lying is developmentally appropriate for our children, we will keep saying that, this and that. And one thing about it is that we start labeling them. And one thing that labeling does is that children start to internalize it. They start to internalize it, feeling that, yes, mommy said this, yes, it is true. Don't forget, from the beginning I said that we are the greatest influencers in the lives of our children. So whatever it is that we say to them, they will hold it and they will run with it. So we want to be mindful of the way we do it. We want to reconnect with them by having that right knowledge of, okay, yes, this thing is appropriate for this child. This thing is okay for this child. So we need to reparent ourselves to understand all of these things. Right? Remember the saying of Ali ibn Abu Talib that says that you should play with your children in the first 7 years of their lives. It didn't even say we should teach our children. It says we should play with them. And we have heard several studies that have shown that what children actually need in the first 7 years of their life is that we should play with them. That is what they need. Play is what they need, because that is the work, that is their work. Reconnecting with your child will help you to, come down to their level and play with them, no matter whatever it is that you are going through in your life, because you want to raise children that are wholesome. Reconnect with them. You need to go back to that stage of, okay, yes, I am, this is the state that my children are now, and I need to connect with them, and I need to, understand them. Reconnecting with them. Play with them. Play with your children in the first 7 years of their lives. Teach them in the next 7 years of their lives. Then, guide them in the next 7 years of their lives. How many of us still try as much as possible to come down to the children, to the level of our children, to play with them, like Ali bin Abu Talib advised? Montessori also said it, that the work of a child is play. So when you come to the conclusion to say that child plays too much, it's just like telling an adult that an adult works too much. Yes, an adult can actually work too much, but of course, there's nobody that even wants to work too much, if not for the fact that there's something that we're looking forward to, that we want to get. So please reconnect with your children. Understand whatever it is that they need. Part of, positioning yourself, part of reparenting yourself and repositioning yourself in a way that you can actually give your children whatever it is that they need is, is actually connecting with them and playing with them. The third one that I will talk about, which is the third R for today, my time is going very fast and I know that, so I need to run, right, is regulation. Regulation. This emphasizes emotional self-regulation and managing triggers. Like I always say, I think there is no session that I'll have that I will not say is that if you are not emotionally intelligent, you can't raise children in this, in this day and age. If you are not emotionally intelligent, if you cannot regulate yourself, if you are always everywhere scattered, scattered, yes, this child did this, you have carried this, you have carried that, you cannot raise your children wholesomely. Yes, I said it, quote me, because it requires that you are calm even in the face of their mistakes. It requires that you come down and listen. A lot of listening, which is that foundation of communication. You need to calm down. You need to always be calm. You need to be able to regulate. Of course, you won't always be calm, but you need to be able to control yourself. You need to be able to manage your triggers. You can't, you cannot continue to, like one of my mentors will say, that you need to calm all the way down. You need to calm all the way down. You need to be able to control yourself. You need to be able to regulate yourself. Hence, you are going to damage your children. And if you don't damage them, you lose them, because they will not be able to confide in you. If we start making polls now, if we start asking questions, asking audiences questions about, okay, what is that thing now that made you run out of house? You see different thing. So why are we now doing the same thing that those who raised us? And the thing is, we can still give our parents excuses. But parents of this age, we are not going to give ourselves excuses again, because knowledge is everywhere. They were raising us back then without, very little knowledge, very minimal knowledge. And like I always tell people that, the way we were growing and we're understanding Islam better than our parents are understanding it better, is the same thing we're growing and we're understanding how to raise our children better than how our own parents did it. There are resources now. There is knowledge everywhere. Yes, there is knowledge everywhere. However, we need to be careful of the way where we pick our knowledge from. We need to be very careful of it, right? It's about learning to stay calm and present, especially during challenging parenting moments. Because will challenging parenting moments come? Yes. Yes. You can just, let me give an example of, you can just hear, or maybe you slightly know that your child, your 10 or your 12-year-old watches porn. What will you do? You want to jump up and say, Omo Alaja, you do this. But your ability to stay calm is what is going to help you to think, to solve the problem. Your ability to be calm in the face of chaotic situations. So you need to to learn how to regulate yourself. It is part of reparenting yourself. If you are someone who does not know how to stay calm in the face of, several things, because life will throw different things at you. And like I will always say that our children are trees. They have nowhere to go to. And if we all know that when it comes to nurturing, even a plant grow with, rainfall and sunlight, not with wind and, whatever it is, maybe wind and what's that? Right? That is when you actually want a plant to grow the right way, you have to give it the appropriate things that you need to give it for it to grow well. It is not by wind. It is not by wind. So you need to be careful of those things that you actually give to it, because you don't want to damage your children in the process of nurturing them. Regulating yourself. That is the third R. How do you regulate yourself? We have key steps. It involves you putting your complete trust in Allah, having tawakkul. Having tawakkul, putting your complete trust in Allah, whatever it is that happened. When we were about to start this session, or when we even started the session, we have had glitches. But I know that we have tied our camel and we have put our trust in Allah. Things will come out the way Allah wants it to come out. However, we have tied our camels. You need to have tawakkul. Tie your camel and put your trust in Allah. Tying your camel requires that you get the knowledge that you need. You know that, yes, I have done everything in my capability. Not everything in my capability of not learning or of not knowing maybe the advantage or disadvantage of doing something. Coming to the conclusion that, yes, I have done everything in my power and I have put my trust in Allah. Putting your complete trust in Allah. Having tawakkul in whatever it is that He decrees for you. Whatever it is that is going on around you, knowing that, yes, this thing is what is supposed to be happening to me at this time. Praying about it. However, still putting your trust in Allah. Irrespective of what you are going through. Yes, you have a child that is stealing. You need to tie your camel and put your trust in Allah. But what comes to us naturally, what we want to do at the moment is that we want to start flying up, we want to start jumping. Okay, yes, let's even move from paro. And we start prophesizing, we start saying different things to our children. Regulating yourself requires that you have tawakkul in Allah, putting your complete trust in Him. Understanding your triggers and dealing with them. Understanding your triggers and dealing with them. Because if you don't understand your triggers, you will not be able to deal with them. For me, I know that, you see, not even dirty house, I can still cope. But you see dirty floor whereby there is sand. For those that know me, if I am walking barefoot, my toes are always up like this, because I don't want sand to enter inside my nail. My toes, my foot toes are always like this. It is a trigger for me. If I step my leg, and I think I took that from my mom, because there's no how, no matter how clean your house is, I'm sorry, she will try as much as well. She can tell you, okay, please, can you give me slippers that I can wear around? I have understood that is my trigger, and I have dealt with it. You cannot see me without my slippers, even inside my house, no matter how many times I have swept that house. Some people's trigger might be, a dirty kitchen. As parents, you need to understand your trigger, and you need to prepare your mind for it, because you are raising children, and parenting is done in the mess. It is done in mess. So you need to understand that these are the things that triggers me. These are the things that makes me angry so much, and deal with it. You have to understand your triggers and deal with them. Understanding how to deal with them. Learning how to deal with them. Right? Having emotional regulation. Being able to regulate your emotions. One of those things that actually make us everywhere as parents, and most especially mother, is that you need to learn how to manage stress. Like, there are times that I tell my husband that you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't pour from an empty jug. If your jug is empty, you can't pour from it. So you need to fill your own first before you can pour. But a lot of time, because of the fact that, that love for our children is so much, we want to take care of them, we want to do this, we want to do that, we neglect ourselves. And if you sit down and think about it very well, those things that you snap at your children, think about a moment that you snap at your child. It is not that child's behavior that is making you snap. Is either because you're tired, you're hungry, maybe you're having a headache, maybe something is not going on well with you. Sit down and think about it. If you reflect about it, you get answers to these things. Right? So you want to try as much as possible to know those things that actually stresses you out and manage it. It's something that is doable. I have once been there, like I said from the beginning, that it's not something that I just, that came to me like, okay, yes, intentional parenting, because I had some of my own bad boasts while I was growing up. But for me to be able to say, yes, okay, yes, I don't want to go this route, or even if I'm going this route, there are certain things that I need to be careful of. You need to understand how to manage stress, because it is the number one thing that will not help you to to regulate yourself. You need to develop patience and empathy. If you are not patient, if you are not patient, especially, there are certain things. I cannot start to give examples because of our time. There are various things that are going to happen and you'll be like, you'll be everywhere. But if you have been able to master patience, even in the face of chaotic situation, if you understand that, yes, this thing is happening because of something, if you understand the fact that, yes, I have done what I am supposed to do, if you are empathetical about the way you deal with your children, a lot of us, the way we deal with children of outsiders, oh my God, if we compare it to the way we deal with our own children, we will just know that this is hypocrisy. The way we deal with children of our guests that come to us, the way we give them food, they will even do certain things. You take your eyes off it and like that. Only if we can start to treat our children like that too. Only if we can go to the extent of understanding them, understanding their needs, their emotional needs most especially. Right? And lastly, for you to regulate yourself is that you need to avoid reactive parenting. What does it mean? Avoiding reactive parenting. It means that you can't be reactive on this journey of raising your children in the 21st century. You have to be proactive. I see a lot of people, when you are making people know about the courses that we have and like that, they say something like, I'm still dealing with tantrum. Let me finish dealing with tantrum first. Then we'll now know the next thing. You are being reactive as a parent. Because by the time another thing will come up, you would not know that you now want to start learning about it. And that's why first child, I pity also. Even for those that that are late, because we are like practical for our parents. So we want to just do it. Let us test run it. Let's see how this is going to work before we know how to do it with other people. So you need to avoid reactive parenting. You need to prepare. You need to be proactive. Because if you are not proactive, if you decide to be reactive, there are certain things that will come. And if you do not have the right knowledge that you need to actually tackle that thing, it's going to be a problem. So it is something that you need to continue to learn about. Not something that you just need to say that, okay, yes, okay, this is not what I'm dealing with now. This is what I'm dealing with. So when you start dealing with it, what do? You now start seeking that knowledge at that time when your child needs it. So you need to be reactive on your journey of parenting. The fourth one, quickly, is refining. The fourth R is refining. Please excuse me. The fourth one is refining. Please excuse me. I'm sorry. Please excuse me. So sorry about that. So the next one is refining. You need to refine. This involves having a paradigm shift. What does it mean to have a paradigm shift? You need to have a mindset shift. You need to have a mindset shift, which means that you need to unlearn harmful parenting beliefs. You need to approach it with knowledge, like I have said. Learn from one's upbringing and relearning new ones. Because that is what we actually need, only if we can commit to it. Only if we will not come to the conclusion that I will alone the question is, have we tried our own best? Have we done our own, to that extent where we will say that, yes, I have tried my best and now I have put my trust completely in Allah. So we need to unlearn harmful parents, because we have lots and lots of them, that we all know that this thing, if you actually think about it, this thing is not right. But because we do not have, and that's why we need to learn that thing of having a paradigm shift to the extent that you'll be able to take it away and replace it with healthy ones. You need to refine. And that is why it is about us as the parents. It is about us. It is not about our children. Replacing those harmful and negative beliefs with positive and empowering ones. So what are the things that we need to do in order for us to refine and reparent ourselves, to reposition ourselves in a way that we'll be able to reparent our children the way we are supposed to do it, right? What are the things that we need to look at? We need to look at our disciplinary methods. We need to look at our disciplinary measures. We need to shift from punishment to guidance. That is what we need. Because even the Rasul, peace be upon him, the popular hadith that people usually quote that, what's the word again? That when a child is 7 years, teach them to pray. And when they are 10 years, if they don't pray, then you should beat them. You should spank them. Look at it. Look at the amount of years that the prophet has said that we should use to teach them. 3 good years, 3 years. And before that 3 years, definitely we should have been modeling it as parents too. So we want to refine ourselves with disciplinary methods that are right. We want to discipline ourselves in a way that would have that right thing for us to discipline our children, and we don't keep resorting to punishment, because it doesn't work. When people come and say that our parents were very disciplined, they were disciplinarians, they did this, they did that, the question I ask people is, what does it mean to be disciplined? Because a lot of us do not know what it means to be disciplined. There are certain tasks, there are several tasks that will start and will not finish with it. And it will be there for years. Yet, we say that we are disciplined. What is our definition of disciplined? Right? So we need to be able to shift from punishment to guidance. The prophet said that we should teach them. We should teach them to pray. We should tell them to pray by 7 years, of age. And if they do not do it at 10 years, which means that we need to continue to teach them for 3 years. Now, think of that thing that you have taught your child and you have spanked your child for. You have beaten the hell of, that child. You have beaten that child. You have done a lot to that child. You want to think about it. How many years have you taught this child? Then how did you teach this child? Did you actually teach the child, or you corrected the child? There's a difference between it. I'm a teacher. There's a difference between teaching them and correcting them. Did you teach them? Not correction. Did you teach them? So you want to refine your disciplinary methods. You want to model what you would love to see in your children. Refining. A lot of people, there are certain times that certain things that our parents did back then, that when they want to distract you for something or they don't want you to play, they'll tell you, stand up, go and carry your book. Making it look like that book that you want to go and carry is a punishment. And that's why a lot of us find it very difficult to read these days. And like scholars will always say that verse, that first word from the Quran that says Ikro, it is not a mistake. It came for a purpose. How many of us read Ikro? How many of us read? And yet we want our children to be readers. That's what we want. We want our children to be readers. We want them to read. We want them to do certain things. Modeling what you would love to see in your children. Name it. You want them to be responsible. Are you responsible? Do you take responsibility for your action? You want them to be consistent with something. Are you consistent with it? You want them to be a reader. Do you read? You want them to pray. Do you pray? Do you pray tajud if you want them to pray tajud? Think about it. You want them to be able to do their chores without being told. Do you also do the same thing? Reparenting ourselves. Challenging limiting beliefs of oneself and one's child. That's another thing that's another way you need to refine. You need to challenge those things that are limiting you. You want to challenge those things that are limiting you from achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve. We have several people that, who set that goal, especially now that it's New Year resolution. Yes, we still have some Muslims that does all of those things. However, New Year, middle of the year, we believe in day and night. Okay, our to-do list, for us to even complete everything on our to-do list, is something that is very difficult for us. Yes, we want our children to be responsible. We want them to be consistent. You need to challenge that thing that is limiting your belief. And that is the only time you will be able to help your child too. Like I said in my post, I think 3 days ago, that it is not enough for you to just say that, I want to be very proud of you. You want to be very proud of your children. Let your children also be proud of you, because you are the first role model in their life. If you are good, then they will be good. But if you are better, if you are the best, they will also strive for that thing, because you are the first role models in their lives, right? You want to cultivate self-compassion. You want to cultivate self-compassion because it is needed. A lot of us, what we do is that we judge our children based on our own past experiences. We feel that our child should be able to do this. They should be able to do this, judging by our own experiences. However, it is something that is going to take time. We need to be compassionate with them, understanding that they are children and they are going to be learning these things one at a time. It's not, let's look at everything that you're able to do perfectly today as an adult too. It didn't take you just one day. You did not just sleep and wake up and you're doing it perfectly. It took you time. It took you, resources. It took you being consistent. It took you to sacrifice. Give your children that thing too. Be compassionate with them. Then another thing, and the last one under refining, is that you need to have a growth mindset. You need to have a growth mindset. Always know that you can always do better and strive to be better. Strive to do better. Don't have a stagnant mindset. Don't just, how we were raised is just that, okay, when we finish and, we finish school, we get a job that is paying us well and all of that, we have left every other thing. We're not trying to grow when it comes to our career. We're not trying to grow when, all-round growth. You need to have a growth mindset, because if you don't have a growth mindset, your children, people are going to leave you where you are, and they will go, including your children. And you need to constantly understand the environments that your children go in. That is the only way you'll be able to guide them the way you should guide them. So you need to have a growth mindset. You need to keep learning. You need to keep on learning. You need to keep relearning. The 5th R, which is rebuilding. Just one more to go, and we're going to call it a session, right? Rebuilding what's your family mission, vision, and core values. You need to rebuild. You need to rebuild. Like I always say, that having your family, nurturing your family positively, intentionally, requires that you run it like you run a business. I'm not talking about those that are running business that don't have business plan. No. Those that will actually sit down and think about think about where they want to take their business to. That is the same way you should try as much as possible to sit down and rebuild your family mission. What is it that you want to achieve as a family? It is you that will be responsible for this, not your children. And that is why it is about you, not your child. So you need to reparent yourself. What do you want to see in your children in the next how many years? What conscious effort are you doing to actually build those things in your children? Rebuilding what your family mission, the vision, the core values are. Then building and cultivating healthy habits. Healthy habits. It is not about perfection, but it is about taking a step at a time to become a better version of yourself. Building systems and structures that will help you to achieve what you have set as your vision and mission. In the next 25 years, I want to see that my first son has so this, so that. What are you putting in place? What system do you have? What structure do you have? What legacy are you building? And how are you building it? You need to intentionally establish all of those things and communicate it well with your children. When we were growing up, a lot of time our parents will tell you that remember the child of whom you are. A lot of time, even children of these days do not even know the child of whom they are. So how do they even remember what they do not know? How have you communicated your values and your principles to your children? You cannot beat it into them. You cannot shout it into them. You have to teach them intentionally. So intentionally establishing the parenting approaches that you would like to adopt through building systems and structures. There are systems and structures that work. Don't be deceived by people that say that parenting does not come with a manual. Do what works for you. It's not true. Because if you do what wants to work for you, you won't even stand up in the morning to say you want to cook for your children. Does it not work for you if you sleep and say you don't want to stand up? It works for you, but it's not working for your children. So don't be deceived deceived by that saying of, parenting does not have a manual. Do what works for you. You need to learn about it in this day and age, right? Rebuilding yourself, it involves that you establish your family values, your mission, and it should be well communicated to the entire family. Like I was saying, that you need to run it like you run a business. You know how they have weekly meeting in businesses, how they have monthly clinical seminar. That's the same way you should be involved in the lives of your children, and in build those things into your children. Where do you want to see yourself in the next how many years? A lot of time when we see, we see different things that happen as adult children, the way they treat their very aged mothers and fathers, you know that is what they were learned. That is what they learned. That is what they were used to while they were growing up, right? It should be well communicated to the entire family, no matter how small. You should have a family time whereby you'll be able to rebuild whatever it is that has been built by your parents in the past. You need to model positive behavior to your children. There is nothing like do as I say. It does not work, especially for children in the 21st century. It is do as I do. That is what works. So what do you want to do? Because it is what you do, that is what your children will do. However, you need to give them time to learn it. You need to be consistent in all measures and boundaries that have been put in place. If you have built your family mission, you have built your family vision, you have your core values, you will not say that there is how do I say it? You will not tell your children that, okay, well, don't lie. You make sure you don't lie, and somebody will come and look for you, and you tell that your same child to go and tell the person that you are not around. So what are you doing? Are you actually modeling that being truthful that you want to see in your children? No, you are not modeling it. So you need to be consistent in all measures, even if you are not comfortable with it, even if it is not easy for you, but because you want your children to see it, you want to build it in your children, you want it to become a legacy, you want it to be a part and parcel of them, right? The last one is renewal. So what does renewal means? This majorly centers on our spiritual renewal. We need to understand the religion that we're serving, that we're practicing, which is Islam. We need to understand it. There's a need for renewal, for us to have, that's changed. A lot of times, like I said before, that while we were growing up, there are certain things that our parents did. There are several things that they did when it comes to the religion. A very good example is tying, what is it called? Pin to a pregnant woman's clothes. That's just one example of 1 million that I can give right now. If you don't renew yourself, if you don't come to the place of understanding, you also will come to that conclusion that positive parenting is a important, but I am telling you again that it is from the Rasul, peace be upon him, because Allah has said it in the Quran that it will not change the condition of those that do not change themselves. So you need to renew yourself. You need to know about your religion and do it how it is supposed to be done. Renewal spiritually. What are you after? Just your children to memorize the Quran and then being called Hafiz or Hafiz without living that Quran? Renewal. What is that intention of yours? Aligning your parenting approach with your higher purpose. What is your higher purpose? Jannah. If you actually do that, then you know that positive parenting is something that you should adopt. You will know that you need to be intentional in the way you raise your children, because you have aligned whatever it is that you are doing when it comes to your parenting to the fact that, yes, I am seeking Allah's pleasure with all of these things that I am doing. And it has been said that he who does not show our children mercy would not be shown mercy. So you might want to ask yourself, how are you showing your children mercy? Are you being merciful to them? Are you being compassionate with them? Your long-term vision, I know that all of us here as Muslims, our long-term vision is to attain Jannah. You want to align your parenting approach to it for that higher purpose of Jannah. Using that principles of Islam to raise ourselves and to raise our children with the aim of raising responsible children who serve as continuous charity for us and serve as a good legacy for us also. What is that thing that your children will be able to continue to do, saying that, yes, this is what was done back then and I am holding on to it? Will your children have to heal from the wound that you have given to them as their parents? Think about it. How are you going to do this? You need to align your parenting with Islamic practices. That's what you should do. You need to align it with Islamic practices. Aligning it with Islamic practices, like I have said, yes, memorizing the Quran, mashallah, this is something that is, it is encouraged. However, how are they living those teachings of the Quran? Seeking personal goals and continuous development, you need to continue to develop yourself. Commit, like I said before, commit to reading books. If you feel that this course, I cannot afford it right now, that, commit to reading books, commit to listening to podcasts. All of these things are going to help you on your journey. Developing the resilience to carry on, because you need that resilience. Certain things are going to happen and you want to give up, like, I'm going back to this method of Tibati. What do you want to see? Do you want to see a short-term result or a long-term result? A child that has done something wrong and you have done all these bad goes to say that, okay, yes, this child should not do this thing again. Are you certain that child will not do it when you are not there? Are you certain that child will not say that, I'm not doing it because mommy is, I'm not doing it because mommy will beat me or mommy will do certain things? What will happen if you are not there? And that's why your disciplinary strategy should raise your children to actually be self-disciplined, developing the resilience to carry on in the face of challenges, and showing gratitude. Because Allah has said that if you show gratitude, it's going to give us more. Renewal. You need to renew yourself, right? So let me just quickly run through these 6 R's. The first one, I spoke about reflection. You need to reflect. Reconnection, regulation, refining, rebuilding, renewal. Finally, like I said in conclusion, in Surah Al-Ra'd, Allah said that He will not change the condition of a people except they change whatever it is that is in them. As parents, we need to understand that the entire Muslim Ummah is based on the family unit. I'll say that again. The entire Muslim Ummah is based on the family unit. And the family unit is based on its members, the members of that family. And if the members' relationship is not too healthy, if it is not healthy, it affects the entire community. And this causes mental health and dysfunctional family issues, which has a ripple effect on the generations to come. Lastly, we need to understand that in Islam, we have five signs of dysfunctional family. The family that are exposed to substance abuse, a conflict-driven family, it's always about conflict in that house and not connection. A violent family, the authoritarian family, families that don't listen, they just dish out rules without trying to hear from the side of their children, right? And lastly, the emotionally detached family. Experts have said that if a family is dysfunctional, it will have an effect until the 4th generation before something can change. So you want to ask yourself this question, and I'm going to leave you with it today. Do you have an iota of a dysfunctional family in your family system as Muslims? Look into it, knowing that the entire Muslim Ummah is based on family units, and the family unit is based on its members. And if the members' relationship is not healthy, then it's going to affect the entire community. And this causes mental health and dysfunctional family issues, which has a ripple effect on the generations to come, right? And we have come to the end of today's session. Thank you so much. Tomorrow, inshallah, would continue. Like the Sister Sabia has said, we have speakers lined up for 5 days. This is one out of it. For the male, it's going on if it has not ended. And for the female, we have it here. Please, you still have the opportunity of inviting people. Let them also come and benefit from all of this. It's free and it's not going to cost anything. We're going to be talking about discipline in Islam. We're going to be talking about various topics. We're going to be talking about the roles of each parent in raising our children. So you don't want to miss this session for anything. It was purposely put in this time of the holiday so that everybody gets to benefit from it. And I pray that Allah uses this to benefit you, and it serves for me, for everybody, as huja for us and not against us on the day of Qiyamah. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't see comments, and yes, we have come to the end of today's session. Please join us tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. West African time, inshallah. And we're going to continue on this, inshallah. Thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate you. I would see if I can actually, go through some comments and leave anything as after this live session. If you have questions, you can actually drop it in the comment section. Inshallah, I'll try as much as possible to answer those questions before the end of today or before the session tomorrow, inshallah. So thank you so much for joining me, and have an amazing time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.